And today we have the pleasure to welcome one of them. Her name is Wendy Behar. Please help me welcome her.
Thank you very much. And thanks for asking me to be here. I'm glad I'm here.
So glad you're here as well.
Well, what happened to me throughout my life, I was raised to be a people pleaser, generation to generation, from my grandmother to my mom, passed on to me. And what happened to me was that I would drink my feelings away. And eventually, when I was 35, I reached my bottom and I realized that I had to stop drinking my feelings away. And I came into the rooms of AA and I learned about me, about being authentic, and about setting healthy boundaries. And I was married at the time. I got married at 22 and my husband continued to drink, and I had to start setting those boundaries and saying no. And I couldn't really be with him anymore because I grew emotionally and I became stronger and an empowered woman. Big difference from 22 to 35. So the support that I had was, I really had first my parents supporting me because they wanted me to get sober. However, they didn't like me changing. So when I started setting boundaries, they weren't very supportive. They wanted the old Wendy back, the one that said yes all the time. And I had 2 children at the time when I came into the room, 7 and 9. So balancing that all, because I know this is mothers and daughters, and I'm sure a lot of mothers have struggles on how to balance all that. Yeah. And I did go to a 12-step program, which I said was AA. And I had a sponsor and I followed all the suggestions. And I made recovery a priority. So I had a lot of support there with my friends, and I called my sponsor every day. And I went to at least 4 or 5 meetings a week while my children were in school. And sometimes too, if my children were playing, sports, I would have my husband or my parents take them to their sporting events. I'd go to my meeting for an hour to get my self-care and my grounding and centering. And then I would go to their game and meet them there. So all that changed. And I had people in those rooms that had to do the same thing. For example, I went back to graduate school at 40 years old and got a divorce. And how did I do that? People in the rooms, supportive women, did that before me. Absolutely. A woman was like 60 years old and she said, "Oh, I went to college at 60. I was like, well, if she did it, then when I'm 40, I could go back to graduate school to become a social worker," which I did, where I help people. And that's what I always wanted to do, even in my 20s. But I was discouraged not to by my husband. He wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, and I listened because I had no self-esteem at the time. So I had a lot of support from the rooms, and also went to therapy, and constantly growing and being open to learning to change and asking for help, which is very hard for a lot of women to do. Yes, exactly. And it's very hard to do if you don't have supportive people around you. And people don't know what you're going through if you don't open up and be vulnerable. And it's very hard to be vulnerable and say, you know what, I don't have this. Because on the outside, I looked perfect. Went to the gym, my children were impeccable, so it was just really, hard because people think you have it all together. Even today, I have struggles, I have things going on. Like you can't judge somebody's outsides with their insides. And that's something I stress, on my Instagram and my Facebook. I post every single day, something inspiring. Hopefully it inspires others. And I've been getting a lot of great feedback, on just taking care of you and asking for help. And there's no shame in that. It takes courage to change. It takes courage to ask for help. I still call my sponsor every day. I'm sober 24 years. I'm a social worker. I'm constantly connecting with people. And that's really important, especially now with the pandemic. We were all isolated. Thank God for Zoom, which is a wonderful thing because I never would have met you. My book is titled hashtag, because I wanted to reach out to millennials. So I put the hashtag in front, hashtag your rules, your life, about taking charge of your life, making changes, setting boundaries. And I always use this quote, self-care isn't selfish and no is a complete sentence, those two quotes, because it was very, very hard for me growing up with my grandmother and my mom, generation of women, to be a people pleaser, and they always laid guilt trips on me. So I try never to do that to my daughter. My daughter is 30. She was going to come tonight, but she couldn't make it. So I won't give her a guilt trip. You know, I'd love her to be here, and I could have said, oh, Jenna, you have to do that. I do so many things for you, but I wasn't going to repeat that pattern. So my book is all about learning how to say no, feeling with your feelings, being in the moment. I talk a little bit about my recovery and, you know, how I got where I got to and how I made those changes. And I teach others how to make changes. And I talk about personal stories and professional stories of people. Of course, I got permission to do so I could help others. And these examples and these little like simple tools are really easy, you know, to follow. So it's a really simple book with, you know, tools that are practical that we could all use. Well, of course, it was up and down. I mean, the first year of my sobriety, all I did was cry because I was feeling my feelings, that I used to drink over my feelings.
Yeah.
And when I worked in the fields of addiction and I ran groups, I actually loved it. So the more I helped people, the better I felt. You know, it really was important. My mental health was always trying to work on myself. You know, I never said, oh, I've got this, because I don't. Even today, I could wake up certain days and I'm not having a good day and I can be emotional, but it's okay. Because my mother used to say to me, Wendy, everything grows with water. And when you cry, you're growing. And it's so important not to hold it in, because I know as a professional that if you hold in all your feelings, they turn into either depression or illness like cancer. So they need to be released, and you need to cry and cleanse, and it's okay. It's interesting because I had somebody working for me, a millennial, and she had a little girl and she was working in school and she was 30 years old. And she actually was my daughter's friend and she was trying to balance it all. And she was working for me, so she learned all the tools, you know, that I teach and from my book. And she was having a hard time. So when you say that, yes, mothers are struggling. I remember struggling. It's about having a schedule and having a routine and putting in there in that schedule an hour bath, Epsom salt lavender bath, if you like bath with candles, making sure that you schedule during that week time for a manicure and a pedicure, time for a nap. I remember when my children were little, they knew that I took a nap every single day for 1 hour at a certain time. And I used to put a note on the door, do not disturb. And they would not come in my room. And that gave them also the same right to have downtime. Because as mothers, we are examples to our children. We might say something, but they see what you do. So if you're taking care of yourself or you're saying no, they'll have a right to say, you know what? No, I'm uncomfortable doing that. Or I need time to myself. So a routine and a structure of self-care, whatever self-care is to you, taking a walk, exercising, take a walk with your children. You want to take a walk outside, do it with them. And that can be your exercise to take care of yourself. In the morning too, for me, I meditate. I get up earlier than everybody, but I know when you have little children, I don't know if you want to get up 4 a.m. if they get up at 6, but maybe you do. You go to sleep early and you get up and have some time for you. In the morning, I love to journal, I meditate. I have, you know, spiritual oracle cards that I pick. I pray. And I ground and center and I exercise. When my children were little, I just did a little bit of that. I couldn't do it all because I didn't want to get, like I said, get up at 4 a.m. But really, really important to figure out your schedule and put you in there, or time with friends as you have your children's responsibilities. And also you could even have your children help you do laundry like, engage them in activities so you can do it all together. I love to do like my yoga at least twice a week. I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. And I also like to walk outside, bicycle ride. When I was younger, I loved horseback riding, but it hurts my back. And I just listen to my body, and I really need to do movement, some sort of movement every day, even if it's 20 minutes of stretches in the morning. I mentioned to my daughter to do that. And she does. She's a dental hygienist now. She went back to school when she was 28. It's key. That's why I talk about being a role model for your children, for people around you. She saw that I did it at 40. So when she wanted to change careers from finance and go back to NYU dental hygiene school, I said, Jenna, go do it. And she was able to do it because she saw that I did it. Oh, definitely. When I look back, the things that I wish I knew, I was also a people pleaser as well, even with my children. So I didn't know that my children aren't supposed to be my friends, because my mom and I were best friends and we had no boundaries. So it was very hard for me to set those boundaries. And I think that was probably the biggest challenge for me, not really knowing how to parent, even though I read books on it. I went to different classes. I went to therapy. But it was very, very hard, because the most important thing is to have a partner to support whatever you're doing, and I did not. So when I was doing all the hard work to learn how to set boundaries for my children and consequences, my husband did not. So I would say the most important thing, one chapter in my book, is be careful whom you marry. I did not realize that we had to be on the same page with children and how we were going to raise them, and about religion and spirituality. At 22, what did I know? He was 29 and we had fun, but I didn't think about, when we have children, how are they going to be raised? What are our morals and values? So when you're married, things could be great. And once you have children, it becomes a little more challenging. So when you ask me that question, what I really wish I knew was the person that I was marrying, if he was up to the task of having challenges with children, because children are difficult. So well worth it. I'm so glad I have them both. Not what you think. It's like good on paper. A lot of things are good on paper that in reality have challenges. And I was very naive. I would say really, really important is to trust your gut and really be in the moment and breathe and pay attention to those yellow flags, because those yellow flags are telling you something. A lot of times we push them away and say, oh no, I'm just paranoid, or, just know if something's not right, you're probably right, something's not right. Because I ignored a lot of yellow flags along the way. And I would say that another very important thing is to get help. I said it before, whether it's therapy, and a good therapist, because there are loads of therapists. I remember when I went to a therapist when I was in my 20s and 30s, and when I told them I would drink vodka every night, they go, oh, well, that's okay, you drinking vodka every night. You have a lot of stress. You have a son that has ADD. And she didn't know that I had a problem. So you have to really be careful. Who is this therapist that you're going to? And also stick with it. Like, don't quit. They say in AA, we talk about don't quit before the miracle, because there are struggles and challenges in life, but don't stop, and get support and like-minded people that are on the same journey, as you. So it's important to do that and take care of you and put the oxygen mask on yourself first, like they say in the airplane. Right?
Absolutely. Before giving back, you have to make sure your inner garden, you intentionally tend that garden, right? Before giving back to others.
You can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
So you want to be whole, because a lot of times people think, oh, if I'm in a relationship, I'll be happy. No, you need to be happy within yourself first. Because if you're unhappy, you're going to attract an unhappy person. That person is not going to fix you. We have to fix ourselves first.
First, that's a great reminder. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm a daughter, and for me to be hearing these things from you with all your life experiences, I feel really blessed because you really speak for both side of the spectrum here, and those are words that we want to capture. We want to make sure we spread this message as loudly as possible so that it can bless someone.
Yes, it's an amazing thing that you're doing, connecting, women, and we need to, stand together and be strong. Don't give up on our dreams.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're after. Following our dreams, believing in ourselves, and rallying together.
For all the people out there, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and my book is on Amazon. #Your Rules, Your Life. And I hope it helps you and reinforces some of the things we talked about today and inspires you. So every day I post something, I do a little video to reinforce all these ideas. So I wish you well. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy. And thanks again. And I hope to see you again soon.
We hope to see you again as well.